Back in 2021, the company that many Americans still refer to as Chrysler or Dodge Chrysler Jeep actually merged with a company called the PSA Group under the banner company, the umbrella company, Stellantis. Now, Stellantis is a Netherlands-based company and is now, after the merger, the fourth largest automobile manufacturer by volume in the world. Even though Stellantis is such a large company, they're now undergoing another series of layoffs. According to this article in the Detroit News, Stellantis is cutting white-collar engineering and tech employees. Stellantis NV said Friday that it's making staffing cuts to its engineering and software divisions. The automaker said the layoffs, totaling 400 white-collar employees, will affect about 2% of the workers in engineering, tech, and software groups in the United States. A spokesperson for Stellantis had this to say: as the auto industry continues to face unprecedented uncertainties and heightened competitive pressures around the world, Stellantis continues to make the appropriate structural decisions across the enterprise to do two things: to improve efficiency and to optimize its cost structure. The article goes on to say that a number of the affected employees were notified of the cuts Friday morning, and the layoffs are going to take effect on March 31st, which doesn't give much time for them to make plans for the future.
After being employed at Stellantis for over a decade, this mechanical engineer recently started believing his job was on shaky ground.
I was concerned because I heard rumors a couple weeks ago regarding cuts to salaried employees.
Around 8 p.m. Thursday, 400 technology workers at Stellantis, including this engineer who wants to remain anonymous, received an email informing them not to report to work Friday. Instead, they would be on a mandatory remote workday, and they were required to attend an operational meeting at a designated time. But when workers attended those meetings, they received devastating news.
It was a mass firing of everybody that was on the call.
The news felt like a punch in the gut.
Of course it was. Yes, absolutely.
Fox 2 requested an on-camera interview with Stellantis, but instead we were provided a statement which reads in part: while we understand this is difficult news, these actions will better align resources while preserving the critical skills needed to protect our competitive advantage as we remain laser focused on implementing our EV product offensive and our Dare Forward 2030 strategic plan. But this worker and others Fox 2 spoke to believe something else is the cause.
There's a ton of jobs or positions that they began to outsource to different companies, such as India, Mexico, Brazil. So they continue to push low-cost countries are more efficient for the company and more profitable. It's sort of sad because just years ago, during the bankruptcy time, our government stuck up for us and bailed us out so that we could continue to be a company. And years later, we merged with another company that just seems to be sort of dissolving us.
Finally, the article says that these are among a series of recent staffing changes at the company. In recent months, Stellantis laid off hundreds of hourly supplemental manufacturing employees while also rolling many of the so-called temps over to full-time status. And it has offered big rounds of buyouts to both hourly and salaried workers over the past year, including about 6,400 white-collar workers last fall. So essentially what this article is saying is that Stellantis is now keeping pace with its past trend of laying off employees. And it's doing all this while something very interesting is happening. In another article from the Detroit News, it says Stellantis posts record profit revenue in 2023. It reads, higher pricing fueled Stellantis NV to a record $20 billion. That's 18.6 billion euros net profit in 2023, an increase of 11% from 2022. So let's put this in perspective. Between 2022 and 2023, Stellantis saw a $1.98 billion increase in their net profit. And their answer to this is that they're going to lay off employees. Now, at the same time that they're laying off employees, according to Automotive Dive, Stellantis' CEO made over 36 million euros in 2023. This article has a little brief. Carlos Tavares, CEO and executive director of Stellantis, earned 36.5 million euros. That's $39.5 million in total compensation in 2023, a 55.6% year-over-year increase, according to the Automakers 2023 annual report released on Friday. Now, that means between 2022 and 2023, this CEO got a salary bump, essentially, of $14 million. Stellantis paid Tavares nearly 23.5 million euros in cash and vested equity, including a 10 million euro bonus for meeting 3 electrification milestones in 2023. Tavares' compensation package includes an additional 13 million euros in long-term performance incentives, which Stellantis will only pay in full if the company meets specific targets. So, apparently, in addition to the $14 million increase, there's also the chance for the CEO to make some more cash. So what does all of this have to do with the employees? According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average employee working in automobile manufacturing and or automobile parts manufacturing makes about $30 an hour. That comes out to about $62,400 a year. A $14 million increase in the CEO salary then comes out to the equivalent of the annual salaries of 218 employees. So essentially, while they're firing all these employees, they're taking the employee compensation and giving it to the CEO. At the same time, they're calling this not only a cost-cutting measure, but also an increase in efficiency. So, when we're dealing with product space industries, when you're making widgets, that means somebody is doing physical tasks to make those widgets. And the more that they do those physical tasks, the more of a toll it takes on their bodies. So when we're paying people in a products-based industry, what we're paying them for is two things. One, trading hours to make things. So they're giving up their time to make these things, but they're also giving up the good functioning of their body for making these things. So we're actually paying them for two things. So let's say you are in charge of making the widgets and your job is to make 100 widgets an hour. There's 5 of you at the company. Each of you makes 100 widgets an hour. And so the company makes 500 widgets an hour. Well, to increase efficiency, the company one day says, well, we still want to make 500 widgets an hour, but now we want to have fewer employees doing it. So they cut the number of employees by 1. Now the 4 remaining employees have to make 125 widgets an hour. So at the same time that your salary per widget is decreasing, the toll on your body to make that salary is increasing. So you're kind of being negatively affected in 2 ways by this increased efficiency. If at the same time the CEO of the company is making an additional $14 million a year, well, he's still kind of doing the same thing that he was doing yesterday. He's going to meetings and sitting in front of a computer, typing things and reading reports and things of that nature. There's really no increased toll on his body. So he's not being negatively affected that way. And the number of widgets that the company is making actually stays the same. So he's not making the same amount or less money per widget. He's actually getting paid more per widget than he was yesterday, while you're getting paid less per widget than you were yesterday. So this kind of explains why people might have a problem when CEO salaries are increasing at such a high clip, while at the same time, worker salaries are pretty much remaining stagnant, and the companies are firing employees. People seem to wonder why new employees don't want to enter the job market and or current employees aren't staying with their companies very long. Well, because there's now this increased notion that the companies have no loyalty to the employees, so why should the employees have loyalty to the company? And for good reason. Because if all of the company's money is going to pay the CEOs and high-level executives and or put money into the pockets of the investors, which is a laudable goal, but if all the money is going in that direction, then what is the benefit to the employee? But let me know what you think about it in the comments below. For now, this is The Legal Good.